Connection established. Sending interactive video.
Hi, folks. How we doing? I just wanted to pull out all the stops here. This is the last one of these little ones we've been doing about our 1090 agency client turnaround sessions. So just wanted to have a little fun with it. And my name is John Nelson, the plugin CEO of JKO Works and pluginbusiness.com, and a few other projects that are just finally starting to get out there. Actually, there's one for stroke survivors. There's one for music, all types of underappreciated type forms of music. And there's some really cool stuff that's happening out there as some people really get imaginative with this stuff. So one of the things that we have been talking about for a while now is, I mean, I and my team come from a marketing agency background, and so we're kind of partial to marketing agencies. And so we wanted to, come alongside you guys, because there is something that, I mean, there's so many folks trying to make it. There's so many folks trying to get out there and make sure that we that we get some business and that we do things right. But one of the things that, hang on, I'm just checking something because we are live, and I am my own producer, and you never absolutely know what's going to happen around here, do you? Yeah. Okay, we're good to go. All right, good. Just making sure everything is there. Okay. So we're kind of partial to marketing agencies. And so there was one thing that we noticed that really wasn't being served well for you guys. I'll bring this back full screen for just a second, because you're awesome at the marketing. You're killing it out there. But there are some things that small businesses need, businesses of any size, but small businesses in particular right now really do need out there because of the way things are, economy wise, maybe even political wise, maybe even other things going on that's all unforeseen, or maybe they have good problems that they have so much business, they're growing and scaling, but they're like a couple of my clients. They are so worried that they don't have the infrastructure to back it up, and the wheels are going to start coming off, and they're going to lose all these particular clients that they brought in. So we're bringing to you business optimization strategies. We want to work through you to make that something very special. So we're going to detail this one more time. If there's something, if you see along the way that you want to be a part of this, turnaround.jkoworks.com is where you will find more information about it. Please jump on there and let's spend just a little bit of time getting to know each other. That's all free. You get a whole lot for free out of this, including the success blueprint that we'll talk about. So our idea here is to take your 10 worst performing clients, not your problem children per se. We don't want the ones that you're about to get in a fight with and they're going to, run down the road and start suing you or something. We want those that can do better, but for whatever reason, they're just not. There's something missing. They're not getting engaged. They're not getting everything turned on like they should. And it just breaks your heart. I mean, I can't say it any other way, because if you're as passionate about your clients as we are about our clients, if they're not doing what they're, things aren't working out, no matter what you try, no matter what you do, no matter what they try or they do, then you really need to, step up and work that out. So that's the idea. We come alongside, we work through you. I'll just get into the details of it, but we want your 10 worst performing clients, and we want to turn them into your rock stars. We want to turn them into some of your best. Because why? Because yes, we get to pay a little something for it. Yes, we get legitimacy out of it, but it also makes you as a business look fantastic, because you're the one who brought the solution to solve the problem. You are the one who brought more than the donuts, and everybody at minimum loves the person who brings the donuts, don't they? So, or all the good food, but you get to do that and a whole lot more. So what is this about? Okay. So this is, we take your 10 worst performing clients, and we apply something called a success blueprint to them. This is a set of questions and answers. We use exclusive software. It is called the Profit Acceleration software, and we work through and show them in real time. If we tried these strategies, what would this look like? What would this do to your actual business? And the cool thing is, it's all free. We have up to 40 strategies. We've narrowed it down to about 5. And we get you unlimited 15-minute sessions working their way towards that. We'll get into that more in detail in just a minute. But we get them down to, there's about 5 that we start with, and we have been stepping through those the last few weeks here. So for those of you who joined us, and we really appreciate it. This is the last one, and so it's and then we're going to pivot and kind of go in a different direction. But this program isn't going to stop. It's still here. This is a great time. It's the last little bit of the year. It is, for a lot of people, they think it's downtime. This is a great opportunity with whatever they have in place to be in place. And then they start focusing on building and rebuilding and start the year strong. Well, you know what? We can actually start them before that into the year, and they're doing business while everybody else is shut down or shutting down or paused, and they will kill it, both with the strategies that you give them and the ones that we talk about. And we work on it together, and we give them some amazing results. We do this for 90 days. It is for one low price that is probably less than what you charge them per month. And then from there, our hope is we did such a good job with these 10 that you'll give us the rest of that business at regular prices. Again, we bill you, so you can mark it up however you want, as to make it a part of what they do and upsell it. And so it's as long as that's covered, we work through it, and we make it happen. We function as a part of your business to do this, representing you and all that entails. So we get it. So what's this look like? We start everything with a success blueprint. That is that 50-minute assessment, 50-minute assessment, where we go through and show them what's possible. And those strategies are not instantaneous. They happen over 3 to 6 months, but hey, 3 months, we can get a whole lot done. That's unlimited 15-minute sessions, but there's a catch. They get homework. So every session they have, they don't get another one with us until they do the 1 or 2 tasks that we've given them. But the thing is, it's working on their business. If they're serious about this and really serious about making a difference, sometimes that'll be business. Sometimes that'll be some of your marketing that you want them to do or things that you want them to do. And so we work on it together. And if they really are on fire, we could have one meeting every day for a whole week. Or we could go, 3 or 4 weeks and not have one. But if I were them, I would, capitalize on it and not just let it sit there. Even no matter what they paid for it. So we then have monthly meetings. There'll be 3 of them. It's a 90-day process, right? It's the 1090, the 10 worst performing clients for 90 days. We want to turn them around and make them something special. So once a month, we do have a meeting that involves them and you. The regular 15-minute sessions, just them. Okay, we'll relay messages and do that sort of thing, but let's make it just us just us and the client for the 15 minutes. But the once a month, we want you involved. We want you catching up with everything. In addition, we'll have a kickoff meeting that you're involved with, and a final report that we all go over together, including you. We will, however, give you regular updates. It just works better that way for, it's like showing up in an accountability group or something, and you don't feel like you're new to the group and you don't feel like sharing things because you don't know who's judging you or what they're doing. So give us that opportunity, give us that grace, and we'll keep you reasonably up to date on what's going on. So that's and again, this is all for one low price. We want to turn these people into something amazing, because then you get the credit for it right alongside us. But you certainly get the absolute credit in their eyes for it, because you're the one who brought it. Still your name on everything. So even though we're JKL Works, you're the only one who basically knows that. So we then, work through and make sure everything happens. And if you like those results, maybe we do a success blueprint on you too. It's free. It's an hour's worth of your time to see where your agency is, to see how everything is doing, to see maybe if there are some things you can change. You already know the marketing strategies. Half of what we do is marketing strategies, but the other half is business. And there's perhaps some approaches and some things you hadn't thought about yet. So who am I to go through and rattle off all of this? Well, I and my team are business and marketing optimization strategists. This is what we do. This is our joy. This is what this is what we live for. I myself have over 20 years of small business ownership and managing partner experience. More recently, it's been just me as an owner, but in past times and throughout much of the formative experience that I have, it was with a very small but dedicated group that I got to be a part of and to learn. And that's important because we went through good times and we went through projects that did not work well. But now, because of that, I get to bring over 40 strategies to choose from. It's 40 right now, but we're adding more all the time. There are some in there that are brand new, as we come through and discover things and how we can do things better and get better results and even save a little money on the process, in the process. Excuse me, but it's mostly about efficiency. And to do that, I mean, I'm a business process fanatic. I have to be. That's the only way this makes sense. And it's my hope after this that you kind of get to feel the same way as well. So we do want to work through you. We do want to make you into that, into that company that brought the donuts to your clients all day long, so they sing your praises, and we get absolute joy out of doing that. There's no other way to describe it. It sounds cliche, it sounds whatever, but I promise you, that is the case. All right, so here are those 40 strategies. You see, it's about right now, it's evenly split. We have 40 that are marketing, yes, and much of that you will recognize, marketing agencies. It's not rocket science, but the implementation of it is, and the fact that not everybody, it's kind of like all that stuff, if you're in a health kick, if you do all the research and you do all the stuff, there's a lot that but ask yourself if you're following it, right? It's one thing to know it, it's another thing to do it. So that's what we count on, because again, we've been there. That's happened to us. We got the looks like, you guys know so much, why aren't you doing this? Sort of thing. So that's what we're here to prevent. And we get to add these 40 business strategies over here that you may or may not be doing very well. And so it's many of those that we've been focusing on. We've actually narrowed it down to 5 of them alone these are just ones we start with. We have all these to choose from. We have all these places that we can go, even during the success blueprint. Okay. We can go to just about any of these and get some real results out of it as to what'll come with it. But we've been focusing on these guys. A market dominating position is you're inside their head. You know your customers so well that anything you come out with, it feels like it's just absolutely speaking to a very small but highly influenceable subset, because then you have exactly what they need. You have that solution they want but don't have. You're solving that problem they have but don't want, like we talked about last week. The problem they have but don't want, kind of like we talked about recently in some other stuff. So then the compelling offer is that one that's so good they feel like an idiot saying no to it. Have you ever come across those? It's so good you just cannot pass it up. You feel incredibly guilty for passing, because they've done their research, because they got the market dominating position going on, because they have you figured out so much. Then we talked about cutting costs, of course, which is natural in this type of situation, but cutting costs that makes sense, not just cutting costs to cost sake. And so that comes with regular evaluation of what you're purchasing and how you're purchasing, and whether or not you're getting value, and whether or not you're being a good customer. That's the one we don't talk about. Are you being a good customer for that? When you're demanding all this stuff, if you're a good customer, then you get the right to demand a little bit more because you have a little more sway. It's a back and forth relationship, and it makes sense. Then last time we talked about alliances and joint ventures, and the true power that is. I think that's the most powerful unsung thing in all of this, is to really get that worked out, because you can power it all by referrals. You can grow your network. You can build a reliable group of solutions that you can call on if it's expertises you don't have that you need. You can call on them, and you have a relationship with them, and when you're handing your customer off to them that they're going to take care of it, and they're going to represent that relationship well, and they're going to solve the problem. And finally, today we're going to tackle the policies and procedures. I know you have your dental work scheduled, so all due respect, Dennis, you're going to capture them, or you think you are, but we're going to pull them back, because I'm going to give you some scenarios as to why this could be more valuable than you thought possible. Okay, here's how our process works, just quickly. We start here with the business breakthrough strategy session. If you want, or we can jump right into the blueprint for each one of your 10 worst performing clients. But we really should start with at least the initial meet and greet between us. So we set the stage, and we build that trust that we know is there, but we want you to know it's there. And we want to make sure that you're a good fit, that you're ready for this, because this is a little different type of scenario. And I hope you take some of it to heart, because it's a little more accountability based. It's not just you're providing a product and that's it. Screw them if they like it, screw them if they don't. It's not that at all. If you're willing to invest in your client relationship in a little deeper way, you get so much more out of it. You get loyalty. You get the prices you want there. So then sometimes you can increase, if you have to increase prices or something, they go right along with you, because you're giving them so much value, and they will spread that to other people. So let's meet and talk about this whole thing and what this would look like. Then we go, of course, to the success blueprint. All this up to this point, including the success blueprints, are free. They're free to you. They're free to the client. Okay. That's the way we roll. But this is absolutely crucial, these two things. The difference in a success blueprint and a digital success blueprint, for those who don't know, digital success blueprint is for an online only business. We can hang with you guys. The strategies are a little different. Most of them are the same, but there are a few of them are a little different, and they're still all a part of the same 40, but we have a different focus, because there's different priorities when you're online only and your potential community is so much larger versus not. Okay. So, but the success blueprint is if you have a location, whether or not you see customers, because there's things that just apply to local, but that gives us the roadmap. That gives us where we need to focus. That shows the client what is possible. They will get a report that says, if you do these things, if you work with us to do these things, here is not only mathematically what's possible, but here's why it's possible, and here's why we can do this. And I mean, you can just leave with so much promise. And then the cool thing is we try to get that value as quickly as we can once we start over here on the 1090 program itself with each client. And so we're trying to work to get them that value. One thing I didn't talk about is we try to go through one of the strategies about every 3 weeks. So we're only going to get the 5 or so in, which is why we kind of focus on where we do with those 5 strategies we know work. But we can take some in and out. We can pivot around. We can do some different things depending on where that business falls. But one strategy every 3 weeks. So we want to try to get them success as quickly as possible. Helps you, helps us, helps them. Everybody wins out of it, right? So that's how this works, and it's 15 minutes at a time. Now, we call that, when you get over here, this is our ProfitWorks implementation. So what you're going through in the 90 days with the unlimited 15 minutes is what we call ProfitWorks Jumpstart. Okay. At the end of that 90 days, if everything's working, they want to keep continuing, we can continue right on with doing exactly the same thing. You still have the roadmap, hasn't changed. We just keep adding more to it, but at regular price, which on the Jumpstart is still very, very affordable because of the way it runs. It's one price, so we're not sitting there minute by minute billing, and nobody has to worry about that. we go with the one regular price and we just keep rolling from there, because then we've already proven what we're capable of doing for them. And we have the stories to back it up, and you have the stories and the testimonials to back it up. And because half of them are marketing strategies anyway, hey, pass them off as yours. It's your client. The other option we have is a little more intense, at least on the deck right now, is a little more intensive, and that's our regular ProfitWorks one-on-one implementation, one-on-one system as we work it out. That is once a week meetings, an hour at a time. We're getting after it, and we are, and that's kind of open-ended. It takes us to recognize the type of savings we come across. We try to allow a total of a year, but it generally takes us about 6 months to do it. So with the ProfitWorks Jumpstart, back here for a second, we have a 3-month version again, which is what you're doing already, or a 6-month version. And then we're done. But this one, the ProfitWorks here is ongoing until the goals are met, and then we just keep going until they want to stop. So we just keep showing them value, keep bringing the strategies, keep doing different things that make a lot of sense, of which this is a foundational one. Coming soon is a group option where you not only get the Jumpstart side of things, but then you get the benefit of group wisdom. And there actually is wisdom in that if people will participate. I'm blown away at half the stories that I see. And we're also working on a future done for you version where we handle everything instead of the done with you that all of this is. This is not hand it to them and pray. This is, it is in a sense, but we try to work alongside them, to do it with them. We do work, they do work. That's the philosophy we adopt, and it just makes much more sense because then you have them alongside. But we do have a little DIY section if you want to add it on. This is extra, and that is the Success Academy that's sitting down here. It is 52 weeks of virtual MBA level training. You'll practically have an MBA by the time you're done with this because they go over the same things. It's very intensive. It is a lot of notes. It is a lot of material, but it is all do it yourself. You can use it for background. It's a little extra cost, but it's a modest cost, and you add it on for time. They can go look anything up they want. If they want deeper background on a particular strategy we're doing, it's all there. They want to see kind of where this is going. A lot of these strategies are detailed and what that looks like in the system. There are 90-day programs in here that they can focus on other areas, and they can really get some aspects going to their business. But again, this is all do it yourself. This is an add-on. This is not the done with you strategies that we're doing up here. So we need that accountability. We need that connection and that communication to work together. But if they want this as background, it's an upgrade that can be added to the whole thing. So then they're getting training everywhere. They can go look up resources anytime they want, and then the next time they're meeting with us, and then working with you if you want to switch your strategies to some of the same approaches. You'll be blown away what you can do. So that's our general process here. So just a quick thing again about the. This thing is so versatile, this ProfitWorks Jumpstart. It's unlimited 15-minute sessions. It's powered by the Success Blueprint. It is 3 or 6 month total versions. We're talking about the 3-month with the turnaround program here. And the turnaround is based off of, for those who don't know, many of you have heard this, so just bear with the ones who haven't. A turnaround happens in manufacturing plants, refineries, you name it, wherever there's sort of heavy industry going, and they have equipment, and every once in a while, this is a calculated thing, maybe a couple of times a year, they shut all that equipment down because it's costing them money for that equipment to be idle. And they do repair work, they do maintenance work they're supposed to do. They make sure everything's in tip-top shape so there are no accidents and no violations and none of that. And everybody gets off their back because they're doing it right. And then they turn everything back on. We don't want anybody hurt or killed trying to do maintenance or repairs on this stuff. So then they turn it around. It's called a turnaround, and they fire it all back up, and then it's running better than ever because it's had a proper maintenance, it's had repairs done, it's had maybe new things installed. And so that's where the turnaround comes from. And we're able to do this for one amazing low price. And even the regular prices are good stuff. I mean, they're so affordable. And the cool thing about this is, as it goes on later, we can run the strategies. We can run all 40 of those strategies if you want, if you have enough time to do this. Or what people do, you see right here, they use it as a sounding board. We then become that resource that is outside their company, that executive levels in particular like, because then they can run ideas past us without making everybody panic. What if we did this? Okay, well, here's the pros and cons of it. Here's what you can do. Okay, well, what I was thinking about doing this. Does that make sense to you? And so it's an objective voice that can talk through this stuff without scaring everybody to death, and a voice who's already familiar with what their situation is, because we both have the success blueprint as the guide. We can see where they are and how it might affect them, and maybe we do some tweaks. Maybe we do another little section of the success blueprint to match a particular strategy, so then they get to see what that looks like, and what that could possibly do for them, if how that math would work. And so it's just so flexible what you can do with this. And so this is one of our favorite. It's frankly for us one of the lower ends, but it is the absolute most flexible thing that we can do versus what we offer. So just a couple more things. These are things you should be doing anyway. If you're a business owner that's worth anything, you should be spending at least 2 hours a week on your business. That has nothing to do with going and getting sales, has nothing to do with making sure bills are paid, accounts payable, accounts receivable, all that. No, none of the daily stuff. Spend 2 hours a week working on your business, how to make it better, how to improve it, how to get the process. That's where these policies and procedures come in, because then you really have to spend time developing this. Because it just makes everything better. This is in addition to any time that we spend with you. And most importantly, what really makes this whole thing fly is the concept that this is a little bit more of an accountability relationship than they are used to. And that's okay. That's a good thing. I'm not just saying that so you'll go to turnaround.jkoworks.com and get started and get set up with your agency and your clients. This is what makes this work over anything else. I mean, think about it. How many training programs are out there? They're all DIY, and you get handed step by step. Maybe they have some lives, but it's still, in the end, it's do it yourself. How some of those take, some of those don't. To be honest, if we're honest with ourselves, some of those take, some of them don't. And then there's the marketing agency role, that much of what you do is done for you. You do it for them. You don't want them rooting around in their Google ads and Facebook ads campaigns. And I get that. That's okay. There's some things you do need to do. But if you can figure out a way at any point to get their buy-in, to include them in that process, that will dramatically increase their buy-in. That will dramatically increase their participation in the whole thing. And it just makes everything easier, even though there's sometimes a rabbit trail there or two there, where they start going down something over here that doesn't help the process, doesn't mean anything to you. Why are we doing this? So then it gives you an opportunity and gives them an opportunity to really see enough of how that sausage is made that it doesn't overwhelm them, but they feel included in that process. And that way, if things, the dirty little secret is, if things don't work out like they're supposed to sometimes, and we all know that happens, then they're right there invested in the process, and they can see what's going on too. And it validates, what you're doing, and you make corrections together, and you fix it together, and you move forward together. It's just so many reasons to do it this way. But this is what we try to promote. We're not here to beat anybody up in an accountability relationship, but we are here to try and motivate you. We are here to try and include you and to really get you to see the consequences of different actions, whether they be by us or by you, as to what happens. And sometimes people, they start beating themselves up because they find they've been sabotaging their business more than they realized under the, when they thought they were helping. Okay. And one final point here, any of this time spent, any of this expense spent on your business, on doing this sort of thing, on the time spent growing your business, putting together these systems, this is never an expense, ever. Look at it. It should be looked at as an investment in your business, because it will only help it grow. It'll only help it perform better. It'll only help get you the results that you want, get your clients the results that they want. And so then everybody gets to get back to what they thought this was going to be when they started. Everybody has those dreams, right? How does the Tangled song? I have a kid in my house. So at one point we really liked Tangled, way back when. That's not the case now. She's a teenager, but we'll still sing it sometimes. But everybody has a dream. Everybody has something that they wanted this business to be when they started. And so this helps them get back to that by looking at it as an investment. All right. So enough about the pitch. Appreciate your time and letting me go through that. Again, turnaround.jklworks.com is the place to go to start all that journey. But for right now, let's get you some training. This is probably why most of you showed up anyway. So this time, you see, we've been working through those 5 strategies that we detailed a little bit earlier, and we are down to the final one, that is policies and procedures. All right. So put your dentist drills down, put down your tax audit paperwork, and here we go. Because I want to paint a scenario for you by asking some questions. Okay. It's time to play, and it's not in the budget, in the War Department budget, to have this, but for the fancy opener and all, it's time to play. How would you, sorry, it's really, I'm my own producer and I shouldn't quit my day job, right? Okay. Time to play. How would you handle these particular scenarios when they happen? Unless you think, well, I'll just get into it. Your top salesperson gives their 2-week notice, or their notice that they're wanting to leave. How would you handle that? What would you do? What after you got over the panic of it? I mean, they're a top performer, and all of a sudden they say, you know what, I'm done. I want to move on. So what happens to their clients? What happens to the prospects? What happens to the system? What happens to sales? Right? So lest you think it's all bad, let me give you a good scenario. How would you create you have a new position that you've created, and you want to add either a new employee or an existing employee into that spot and have them hit the ground running where everything works well. You're growing, you're adding more positions, you're easing the burden on other people. How would you handle that? Okay. Here's my favorite one though. How would you handle the situation if a TV news crew showed up at your front door asking questions? This has happened, everybody. How would you handle this? What is your situation for handling this? And they're unannounced. You didn't know they were coming, but here they are. And they're not filming the traffic accident outside. Their cameras are pointed toward your business, or worse, toward you. So how would you handle that? Are you prepared for that? So have these hit any nerves yet? Okay, let's have a good one. This is a good one. How would you onboard a new customer consistently and without any hitches whatsoever? How would you onboard them? Okay. And the flip side of that, for our final scenario, how would you sunset a customer whose engagement is done with you? You're leaving on good terms. Everything's good. They've been a good long customer, but now you've run out of things to sell them. And it's time for you to part company, at least for now. How do you do that? How do you capture that? How do you make some hay out of that? whenever you have the opportunity, where you're leaving on good terms. How can you make the most of that situation if keeping them around just isn't practical? How do you do that? So the answer to all these, to the how would you game, all of these can be solved with proper policies and procedures. These and many more situations that you haven't thought of yet that will be scheduled immediately if you don't have policies and procedures. That's all of these can be solved by having this stuff in place. Okay. This doesn't have to be rocket science. This doesn't have to be, some major undertaking that just consumes all of your time, but it needs to be there. It needs to be in place. Things need to be able to, you need to be able to account for some of this stuff without giving everybody heartburn, least of all you, or your, or your management team, or your boss, or your whatever. These need to be in place. And a smart business takes a little extra time to do this. We kind of have to wait till the end because this is tough, but we can actually show you what type of profit can come from having these effective policies and procedures in place. Why? Because you are eliminating downtime. That's the thing you're doing. When your salesperson leaves, somebody can slip right into that role. Okay, so I'm gonna teasing that a little bit about what's coming. But let's talk about policies. There's three particular areas that we think of when we think of policies, and you just see them here. They're not anything mystical. Safety. That's everybody knows the safety policies, or whether or not they follow them, they know they're there. They need to be there. They're required to be there. Otherwise, at least in the U.S., you get visited by OSHA. If you're in California, don't ask me how I know. That's 1,000 times worse with Cal OSHA. They are extremely strict on some of these places. Again, don't ask me how I know. In other countries, you may have regulatory agencies that do the same things. So it's all an effort to make sure that that safety is, the utmost importance, even though we all hate doing it, right? The other policies you see are behavioral. That is the typical HR department. What you can and cannot do at work, what you can and how you can and cannot dress, how you post on social media is starting to be a thing. How you represent the company and when the news crew shows up, or on social media, or different places. These are starting to be things. And so these are things that even a small business needs to be concerned about, or at least needs to have control of. You don't regulate people's lives about what they, can and cannot post on their time, but you do make them aware in certain ways, or you, even better yet, you give them positive ammunition, ways to promote your business, if they're going to put something out there anyway. So that's the behavioral things. And then there's finally procedural. And again, this is not to be confused with the procedures that we're going to talk about in just a minute. There is such a thing as a procedural policy. And so it's kind of I don't know what you'd call it, but it's procedural policies are, basically just how to do things. And that you're required to follow certain procedures when something happens. A lot of people talk about, even though it's sort of a safety issue, disaster recovery is a great example of a procedural policy. When this disaster happens, these are the steps that we go through to secure any facilities that we have, or equipment that we have, or anything else. We used to have to deal with forklifts. There were outside forklifts. We had to plant those suckers, the forks, in the ground. We could not have them, and could not leave them in certain positions. We could only stack shipping containers so high because occasionally you would get a freak wind that would throw those things around like Legos. And there were, these big steel boxes are flying all over the place. And because you decided to stack them, 4 or 5 high, they just keel over and fall over because they weren't secured properly. Stuff like that. These are procedural things, and they're just as important as some of the other two because they lay the groundwork, of course, even though they're officially not. They're policies. They're required. They are, or at least highly suggested, if not required. That's the thing about a policy. If you're going to do it, you really have to almost require it and make it a part of what you do. Make it a part of your company's DNA. You can take this too far. Okay, I am aware. HR department is sometimes a prime example that they start doing things for what were good reasons at the time, but they don't know when to quit, and it keeps getting worse. IT can be the same way, guys. I'm not just throwing stones at HR, but that doesn't mean you go the other way and don't have any. You need policies. You need ground rules as to how to do things, and they should be proven, tested, vetted, and at least make some sense. Okay, so let's talk about different types of procedures. There's really three different areas, three different core areas. You can break this off as much as you want, but a procedure is a set way of doing things. Okay, a proven and approved and tested way of doing things. This is whether or not you're required to do them. Procedures are there so that everybody understands what's expected, and we'll get into some cool ground rules about that in just a minute. But there's three basic areas here. One is sales. You have sales procedures. So when your salesperson leaves, it's not the end of the world. You have operations procedures, very, very important, just as much as sales, and if not more so, because you need to make sure orders continue to get fulfilled and things continue to happen as they're supposed to, without any craziness and chaos, because you didn't put something in place. And finally, administrative procedures are there to, there is much training to teach people how to do things in all different aspects, be they financial, be they, listing of how to do different things. So there are, everybody knows kind of what's expected, whether or not they have to do it. Those procedures are in place. They're revealed to you if you're in the appropriate situation and you need to step in and do something. So on that note, let's kind of finish this up here with some things to think about on as far as procedures go. Okay, so you want them to be simple. You want them to be, they don't have to be, first grader reading level simple, but they don't need to be this big overcomplicated novel either. There's almost an art to doing it well. And so they need to be simple. They need to be reasonable to follow, and they just need to make sense. Okay. And then we already kind of accidentally moved on. No, we didn't move on to the second thing. Now we're going to, though, because this is important. They should be, and this is all building up to something for those who know this is coming, just hang with me. They should be the simplest. Let me try that again. They should be they should require the least amount of skill level to do them correctly. Okay. You don't have to have major certifications and everything else unless for some reason that is absolutely appropriate. If you don't, you just need the base level of information to do the job accurately and correctly, to follow the procedures accurately and correctly, and get the results that you want. This is important. This doesn't need to be overblown. And again, we're heading towards something as to why this is, and all these things kind of add up. But the person with the least amount of skill required to do these is who these should be written for. Okay, they may require some skill. If somebody's going to get out there and drive a forklift. Going back to the forklift example for a second. How often does this happen? You don't want somebody who's never driven a forklift before, no matter what procedures you have. Okay, no matter how well written they are. If you've never driven a forklift, you have no business on a forklift. Okay, you really don't, unless you're specifically learning from somebody who is specifically teaching you at the time. However, do you have to have dock crane worker certification if this is such a thing? Which some of those guys are absolutely amazing at what they can do, what they can do with big heavy gantry cranes and pieces of equipment, and how they can run those and how they can work them. It's almost like watching art. It's like watching a symphony. It's pretty amazing. But you don't need that in order to drive a forklift. You don't need the high level certifications to drive a forklift. You just need to know how. And you need to have the baseline level of, this is how I operate a forklift. I've been reasonably checked out by somebody, and it's been verified that I know how to drive a forklift. And there doesn't have to be, huge pieces of paper that follow me everywhere. It's just somebody else has to know that I know how to drive the forklift. And it is my my designation that if for some reason they're out and something needs to happen that involves a forklift, then I'm going to go out and drive the forklift because it's known that I know how to do it. That's how the person with the least skill level required works. Okay. Okay. Another thing is here that we start talking about, if the special training is required, design it and make it as easy to follow as possible. If special training is required, and sometimes it is, to drive that forklift, right? Make it as easy to follow as reasonably required, where the people that need to do it can do it. I mean, you don't have to make it so complex that there's suddenly nobody else in the company that can do that. The people that do that are trying to protect their job. Stop them from doing it. You as the owner need to stop that nonsense from happening. Sorry, but it's the truth. Because then they're hurting the company by trying to preserve their job. If they're doing their job correctly, then they're the one who gets to do their job until they decide not to do their job, or you find a different way to promote them or incentivize them, or something else happens. And then it's their responsibility to train the new people, to train their replacement, because they're moving up, not necessarily because they're leaving. You don't really want that. Sorry, businesses, you don't, if you can at all avoid it. And having good procedures helps you to avoid stuff like that. Having good procedures helps you from having to train your replacement if you're leaving the company, and particularly on bad terms. If it's on good terms, that's another story, I guess. But if it's bad terms, you don't want them to spend their last 2 weeks training that person. They're going to fill them with every bad habit possible. Don't ask me how I know. Okay. So we have that. If they have to, and so then one final point here. You want to document everything. Okay. You want to document everything. You want to create a document out of everything, whether or not they read it past the first time, but you want to ensure it's documented. Let me check something real quick. Yep. It's live. I am my own producer. Just want to make sure I didn't hit the magic button that turns the microphone off. That's happened. So you're going to document everything, right? And that's appropriate. And again, just like the training itself, it doesn't have to be this overblown huge encyclopedia volume back when they had printed encyclopedias, for those of you who remember that far. Does not have to be that, should not be that, in fact. But it doesn't have to be the absolute minimalist instructions either. It should be somewhere in between and should be written to all the criteria above. And why are we spending so much time harping on this? Because in any given situation with proper procedures, there should be at least 2 to 3 people who can do every job in the place. Every job you have should have 2 to 3 backups in case something happens, in case they leave, in case whatever happens, or they're sick that day. They're coming back, but this needs to get done, and it can't wait. So 2 to 3 people, if possible. I mean, if you're an office of 2, that's an issue, right? But there at least needs to be 1 backup, if not 2 to 3 would be better, that are capable enough of stepping in and doing what every job does, that they can make that happen if they need to, because sometimes you end up doing jobs that you didn't count on particularly as a part of business ownership, right? you end up in all kinds of situations that you didn't think about. So I hope you see that these build on each other. These are put together, and this is why you need procedures for everything. But you also need the policies too. You need the policies to back all this up. You need the policies to address the situations that the procedures help you to solve. You do need that. So we take time at the end, for this. This is one of the last strategies we focus on, but it is foundational. It is as the title implies of this whole thing. I mean, it's bedrock. It's worth taking the time to do, as big a pain in the ass as it is. And it is. Okay. That's not lost on me. But if you're really serious about doing your business well, then this is time you must invest. This is time that, what we do is we will help you to organize that. We'll help you to, maybe you already have some of these in place, and we'll gather all that up. Maybe we will take people's knowledge, and if they're not comfortable writing something out, we'll get them to record a little video explaining how to do things, and then we turn that into documents. There's all kinds of technology assisted things to make this process easier, but it must be. And it will be one of the things you look back on and go, you know what? I hated doing that at the time, but I'm glad it's here, because now I understand these things are scheduled to happen. Craziness and chaos is scheduled to happen. And if you don't have this type of backup of policies and procedures in place, then it's going to cause you major problems that you cannot see coming. I promise you will not see it coming. And it will, and in some cases, it has been the end of companies when it shouldn't have been. I have particular instances in mind. We were doing business that involved actually the Texas prison system. And just real quick. And there was a company that was a competitor that we invited in because this is a really amazing program that I'd love to go in detail, even though it's not around anymore. It's still available, just nobody does it anymore because bad actors, bad apples got in there and really, you're dealing with prison anyway, but I'm talking about the administration side of things, got in there and corrupted the whole thing and ruined a fantastic program. And so what happened was a competitor we invited in to see what we were doing. But turns out, and they were all smiles. Everything was great. This is fantastic. We can do this. But really all they were trying to do was bust their union on the outside. And so they started using this as a tool to do that. They got a state senator very excited about coming along with this, who had the connections to the it's called the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and was on the board and had the connections to their board as the senator, and so there was a particular meeting with TDCJ that my team, I was not present at, but my team was, our CEO was, and said, we in the Senate really enjoy this great relationship that we have with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And you know what? We'll enjoy it a whole lot more. We will continue to enjoy it forever and ever and ever if those guys, pointing at us, are not here. We had no answer for that. That is not what we saw coming. That was the absolute death knell of a company, and quickly. I mean, we shut it down in 2 months. A complete manufacturing operation shut down almost immediately, and ruined many things. So don't think this won't happen to you. Don't think some of those questions in the beginning won't happen. Don't think a news crew might not show up at your place for reasons you don't understand or didn't see coming, that were already happening. They were there for legitimate reasons. But by the same token, as you grow and scale and you worry the wheels are going to come off, they potentially could, if you don't have things in place to put the right people in the right seat, as the vernacular goes. And so then they can slip in and they're not overwhelmed. and they just get everything going, and you get your clients, and the clients get onboarded properly. How often agencies have we spent working on onboarding procedures? Probably not enough. But that can make a huge difference in your client's comfort level after they've spent money with you, that they are onboarded, they're set up, and they're going. So it's not all negative. It can be positive too, but policies and procedures are what makes this all happen. So this is just a part of this little journey that we have called the 1090 agency client turnaround. I hope you see the value in this. I hope you've seen the value in the past 5 sessions as to how this is going to work. We'll do it again, but the program isn't going anywhere. If you are ready, if this sounds at all appealing, if you go watch a couple of other, you need some convincing, so you went and watched a couple of the other episodes, the address is still the same. It's free to see if this is even a fit. It's free to do a blueprint on your agency. It's free to do a blueprint on your clients' agencies, on your clients' companies. So you get a report that says, if you do this, here's what you can expect to happen within months. Here's how this is going to work. That is the most eye-opening thing we can offer. And then we set about trying to do it with you, not for you, and not leaving you on your own to flounder and do it yourself. And what did I pay for again? No, this is done with you. And that may be a little uncomfortable in the beginning, but you'll see the value of it. Turnaround.jkl.works is the website to get that started, with an informational video of me talking for a long time about how this works. And or then you can just go and directly sign up and start that process. And you'll have way more information than you thought possible to make a decision before you ever have to say yes. So I hope that is something that is of value to you. I hope you have enjoyed and responded to these. A lot of people have been watching them, and we are extremely grateful. Now it's your turn. If you have benefited from this, from your agency, it's time to do that. If you don't have an agency, but you still like the ideas of all this stuff, cool, no problem. Go to jklworks.com or strategy.jklworks.com and book your own time for your business. If you don't serve other clients, or serve other businesses that serve other clients, that's cool, no problem. You just got your small business, and I want this stuff. I want to see what this looks like for me. I want a success blueprint for me. Okay, strategy.jklworks.com is where you go. You start that journey, and that is free too. You get that, you get the blueprint, you get all that started. And then, so there is no problem whatsoever. There's no, and you get to see the cool thing about all this and the success blueprint is that you get to see your numbers. They are your business. They're not some national average. They're not some niche average. They are your numbers. You will get out of it more than what you put into it, but you have to put into it. Okay, we have to be able to know what some of those profit margins are, but it's only us, all of us together, that will know them. Okay, that's part of the reason we want to keep you agency away from the clients that we're working through you for, so they don't feel like you're all in their business. Okay, that is part of the reason as to why. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments, or just doing better. Get them actually answered in person or virtual person. But we do this, via video call. And go to turnaround.jklworks.com, or if you don't, not an agency, strategy.jklworks.com. It's right on the front page of the website too. So you can jump in the middle of all of that and make sure that gets done. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I look forward to talking with you soon. And if you have any questions, just let us know. All right. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.